Welcome to BreitWerks. What are you looking at? 1986 930 turbo engine case. And we're going to get this guy cleaned up today. So we're going to finally start to make a dent in the nasty mess that we've made upon teardown. So we're going to get on it. We're going to go clean this up. We'll show you some of it so you can see how it's done. But really, it's just a lot of elbow grease. All right, here we go. All right, we've gotten some of the initial degreasing done on the 1 through 3 side of the case. One thing that was interesting, I saw some transfer on the oil pump shaft, on the IMS shaft. And yeah, definitely once that got degreased, you can see it's interesting that it's pulling up, right? So the wear is basically in the upward direction, not down, up. So this could have just been, the car sat for a very, very long time at one point in its life, and that could have just been from that. But the rest of the bearings, not too bad. We've got a little wear on the thrust side, but not quite as much wear on the actual bearing. So the thrust bearing, the thrust portion of the bearing shows a little bit of wear, but that's to be expected. 60,000 miles, 30-something years old. All right, we're going to keep going, keep getting this guy all degreased. We got our bottles of chemicals, our brushes, and yeah, we're going to keep going. All right, so when I'm doing the cleanup of the engine, one of the things I like to do is test the sensors. So this guy just came out of the freezer. So you can see we got good continuity, and he's a switch, so we should see that go open as we heat him up. So let's do that. Resistance coming up. And he went open. Perfect. That means he works. So we don't get much freezing weather down here, but each one of these silly little sensors, they all serve a function, sort of. This one goes on the right side, 4 through 6 cam cover. So it's not doing too much, but it's feeding that modern, I call it modern, 1986. It's feeding that modern computer piece of data. So we got to make sure they work. You know, these stupid sensors like the thermo time switch, you know, that thing can be $200-300 by itself. So I don't have a problem spending the money if the car or engine needs it. I'll call the client and say, hey, this is broken. But if stuff isn't broken, we'll reuse it to the best of our abilities. So that's why we run these tests. All right, next step, prep the heads to go out to the machine shop. So this is our fancy drying rack here at BreitWerks. But what you can see is the heads have been degreased. And for the first time ever, I'm gonna send out a set of heads without bead blasting them because my machinist got a vapor hone. So we're gonna give vapor honing a try on this set of heads and see how much different it looks. But these are the RR350 heads, right? That's what makes the 930 heads special. So we've got them completely disassembled. I don't think there was a good exhaust valve guide in the lot. So these heads will get new studs on the exhaust side. We keep the intake studs here, new guides, and we're gonna do some fancy stuff on the from a porting perspective. But yeah, heads are ready. They're gonna go out, and that's one of the long poles in the tent. So next up will be our crankshaft. So there's not a tremendous amount of effort and energy that goes into cleaning up the crank, mainly because you want to leave it a little oily so nothing rusts up. Plus, they're going to magnaflux it, so they're going to clean it, and they're going to grind it. But basically what I'll do is I'll just kind of go through and use some brake clean in each one of the holes. And every once in a while, you get something interesting to pop out. Not always, but every once in a while. So you go, hey, where the hell did that come from? But yeah, so the crank is, you know, you just kind of have to take off the pulley, you take off number 8, you wipe it down so it's not excessively greasy, and go from there. And you're going to see that's the same way we handle the camshafts too. But this crank, one more quick little wipe down with some Chem wipes and we'll be good to go. All right, we got our camshafts wiped down so that they're not a greasy mess when they arrive with our cam grinder. But one of the things, if you remember during the teardown video, I had said that the lash on number 1 was almost non-existent. Now we know this is number 1, or we know that this is the 1 through 3 cam because it's got the drive plug on the end of it for the scavenge pump. But if you look here at the base circle, there is a lot more wear. I don't know if you guys can see it in the light on that one than on the other side. So without the lash being there, the rocker was actually putting some pressure on the back side, right? Not the nose of the cam, but on the back side. So there's a little bit of wear. Definitely, I mean, you can hear it, right, as I come across there. But nothing that can't be fixed. Plus, the nice thing is that when these guys come back, they'll be Parkerized and everything. They'll be perfectly ready to go in the engine. The other thing I always look for is how bad is the wear where the radial seal goes on the back of the cam rack. And in this case, we can see the shiny stripe, but you can't feel the shiny stripe. So not a problem. So these guys, I actually will, before we send them, I hose them down with WD-40. And that is more for the journals than for the, they're going to grind or weld and grind these lobes. But the journals were perfect, and the journals in the cam racks looked, or where the journals ride in the cam racks, because there's no bearing in there, it's just bare aluminum. All that looked good too. So what the WD-40 will do is it'll make sure that we don't get any little rust in transit. So until they get Parkerized and a coating gets put on them. So camshafts are ready to rock and roll. And I think for now, that's about it. We got everything bagged up. We've got our box of crap that will not be reused, but we don't throw anything away. You guys looking around can tell. We don't throw anything away until the engine is running. So as we keep going through the progress, I'll show you guys other things, but we really hit the main parts. I will show you one last thing that I do to the engine cases before we close out this video. All right, so Beast now has his own official shelf, and hopefully you guys are sitting there drinking a nice bourbon over ice, but we were working. So all of this aluminum components, whoops, everything's been bead blasted, and they'll go through ultrasonic one more time pre-assembly, but getting all this done and having it sitting over here waiting for us is great. Our heads are out, getting done, so we know that's good, and when those come back, we'll be ready to start reassembly. So one last thing we're going to show you, and we'll call that the cleaning video complete. So we've got the inside of the engine case absolutely clean, and that's really the part that matters. Logic says once you have that done, you shouldn't spend too much time on anything else. Well, yeah, logic also says we should all probably be driving Priuses and getting the best gas mileage we can possibly get. Air-cooled Porsches are not about logic, right? They're about passion. So I am probably going to go over this one more time, but I'm not going to make y'all suffer through that. What I wanted to show you, everybody knows you got to clean out your head stud holes, right? You got to run a cleaning tap down there, some brake clean and all that stuff. But one often overlooked thing is your piston squirters. So that's a little piston squirter. Oil comes out of that and it squirts on the back of the piston, right? And that's important because on the Nikasil cylinders and those particular pistons, you need the piston to stay cool. So these have to work. And a lot of times you'll take an engine apart and one of those will be clogged. So what happens? Well, Steven Stomsky, once again, to the rescue. If you guys have never seen Stomsky tools, go check them out. But he makes this little attachment for a air chuck. And what this guy does, and we'll do it from the other side, but I'm just gonna give you an idea, is your oil feed for these squirters is basically coming across the top. So it's actually using the through bolt hole. You know, if you look down through the through bolt hole, you can kind of sort of see that there's a little bit of a hole there that runs into this feed. So what this cool tool does is it has an O-ring and another O-ring, and as you jam it into from the other side, we'll do it. But as you jam it in there, the O-ring seals, and what happens is it allows you to build up enough pressure that you can blow something out through here. Now, what I like to do is while I'm prepping everything, I just like to put a little bit of brake clean just kind of sitting on there. And then what we'll do is we're going to blow a little more brake clean through them just to verify that they're working. So I'm going to grab an air hose and we'll show you guys and ladies how this works. Okay, so what we got the tool inserted. And one of the things that you have to do is you have to cover off the bearing feed hole. So it's a little easier if you use an eraser or something like that to cover it up, but you can just use your finger. It'll hurt a little bit. I guarantee you that. It'll be more surprising than anything else. But what you're trying to do is you're just trying to make sure that you're on the correct through bolt hole, because like this one, you can blow through that one all day. It's not going to activate the squirter. So we're on number 5 here. So let me get you guys set up so you can watch, and we'll see how this works. All right, so you guys can see that little piston squirter. I'm gonna put a little fluid in there, just a little bit, and then you should be able to hear it. And there you have it. That is the way you clean piston squirters. So we're gonna keep going on that, finish up the other 5. But yeah, I mean, you're talking about stuff that gets really hot, and you gotta make sure that these guys are working, because if they're clogged, seize a piston, break a rod, have a big window in the side of your fancy engine case, and it's a bad day. But let's end it on a good thing, because so far we've done 2 squirters. Both squirters work perfectly. That's fantastic. These little guys, they're not that expensive. They're like 40, 45 bucks each. But it's, you know, getting them staked correctly, certainly the first time around is the best time around. So we want to see if we can make sure we can salvage those. And if you get one that's stuck, you can work through it with WD-40, Gibbs oil, brake clean, all kinds of stuff. You can usually get these guys working again. All right, hey, thanks for watching. This is a 930, 68 case, and it is a G, so we know it is for a 1986. So without further ado, thanks for watching. Have a fantastic day, and check us out at BreitWerks.com.